Hello to all you saucy lasses and rakish lads. Get ready to rip those bodices and release those flowing locks because this is Bodice Ripping, the podcast where we rip romance novels and compare them to real-life relationships. I am Allie, and I am drinking the Angry Orchard Hard Cider Rose. In fact, I have 2 of them because that's needed.
Understandable. I'm Rachel, and I am drinking this Smirnoff spiked sparkling seltzer cranberry lime stuff. Pretty tasty.
Oh, and I just realized mine is rosé, not rose. I said that wrong.
I'm also going a little bit pink. I've got the Wollersheim Winery Prairie Blush wine.
Saucy.
Yep.
Also, who are you?
I'm Lauren. I have a name. I just don't want to own up to it.
I'm Gina, and I have Central Waters. I can't pronounce it. Slainte. Anyway, it's beer, and I also have 2 of them because
wow.
I promise we didn't communicate beforehand. It's just
We're just
that necessary.
All double-fisting tonight.
Oh,
Lauren got the whole bottle.
I feel like I need another one. This is not gonna last me.
Just text Lance really quick. She'd be like,
yeah,
babe.
Alcohol.
It's never enough.
Yeah,
it's never enough with these books.
Especially this one. This one is
this one
something.
We thought the last one was bad.
We were wrong.
So I do want to just kind of like disclaimer real quick right here at the beginning that like we are aware that this is book 7 in a series. So like
it doesn't make it better.
It doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. But I just like when I was trying to read through it, I just kind of like had to keep reminding myself like, okay, if there's information here, it could be information that was explained in an earlier book that I just didn't get because this is somehow number 7.
And there's an 8th.
Yeah, there is.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. You know.
Okay.
Because it needed it.
So we've got a
publishers.
Summary.
Yes. Rachel, you said you had a summary of
I
this
do have a summary, yes.
atrocity.
Yeah, that's what it should be called. Atrocity. So yeah, as a reminder, we read The Angel Wore Fangs by Sandra Hill, which is book 7 of a series.
New York Times best-selling author, Sandra Hill.
Yes.
Apparently.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's just the book that kind of like gave us the idea to do, or like sparked the idea to do this too. So this was kind of a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, I was really
Actually,
sad. Well,
I disagree with that because we started this to make fun of bad romance novels.
And okay, that's
yeah.
fair.
I think this
what
was the
is.
truest form of what we attempted to do when we set out with this podcast. This right here, like the first one we read didn't have any sex. Here.
That one was a part of a series that kind of has like a slow burn thing going on though.
Yeah, and this one just had the bad romance novel thing going on.
Yeah.
Not only one bad romance novel, but like 7.
8.
And there's other series too.
Yeah, and this lady writes like shit tons of books, so there are more Viking books out there floating around just being
it's
themselves.
Possibly because she never reads what she wrote.
Or
it's the only explanation.
It's like so NaNoWriMo just happened.
Oh,
Which I did, and the goal is to write 50, which is to write 50,000 words in a whole month, and to do that, you have to write at breakneck speed, and you can't stop. I think that's how she writes these. She sits down for a month, she has an idea, and she's like, all right, here we go, and just goes, and then just hands it to her publisher, and is like, that, done. Print
and
it.
I don't think they edit it, because there's
really
twice as much text in here as there would need to be.
Yeah.
This book could be half as thick and would be twice as good.
There was one part where I literally thought they just copy and pasted the paragraph from the last time it happened. It was just the exact same thing again.
Oh, okay. Summary.
Anyway, yes.
Right.
Okay, should I read the back of the book first, and then the summary? Or
Yeah,
you
I
want the
think,
summary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the back of the book is wild, and I know we read it on the last podcast, but in case
The
you're
back
just
of the book was
joining us.
way more entertaining than the rest of the book.
Yeah. All right, so here we
Oh.
go. New York Times bestselling... I'm going to read the blurb at the top, I guess. New York Times bestselling author Sandra Hill continues her sexy, deadly angel series as a Viking Vangel? Is it a Vangel?
Yeah.
That's
think
what
it's
I've
angels.
been saying.
Okay,
Yeah.
Viking Vangel's otherworldly mission pairs him with a beautiful chef who whets his 1,000-year-old appetite. Once guilty of the deadly sin of gluttony, 1,000-year-old Viking vampire angel Knut Sigurdsson is now a lean, mean vampire devil fighting machine. His new side job, no biggie, just ridding the world of a threat called ISIS while keeping the evil Lucifyers, demon vampires, at bay. So, you know, what most books are about. So when Chef Andrea Stewart hires him to rescue her sister from a cult recruiting terrorists at a Montana dude ranch, Vangel turns cowboy. Yeehaw! The too tempting mortal insists on accompanying him, surprising Knut with her bravery at every turn. But with terrorists stalking the ranch in demonoid form, Knut teletransports Andrea and himself out of danger, accidentally into the 10th century Norselands. Suddenly they have to... Yeah, whoops. Suddenly they have to find their way back to the future to save her family and the world, and to satisfy their insatiable attraction.
Didn't they go back to 850? Why would that be the 10th century? Isn't it the 9th century?
Again, with the
Like
maybe
I was
not...
saying earlier, there was just zero research done in this book, and I have the perfect example for it, but I'm going to save it.
Excellent. So I have a hastily written out summary of most of the book. So I have the characters. We have Knut Sigurdsson, which is our leading man. So he is a Viking vampire angel, and he is in the service of the Archangel Michael, as in God's right-hand angel. Yeah. So Knut used to be a Jarl, and he was guilty of the sin of gluttony. I wrote this out of order. So he is conscripted into, like, God's army or whatever. So he's part of a special forces made up of his 6 other brothers and a bunch of other vampire angels, all of whom are also apparently Vikings. So he fights these Lucifyers, which are, like, lizardy demon vampires. He is broody, and he likes to eat and have sex. So that's him. Andrea Stewart is a pastry chef who hires Knut to help find her sister, who has fallen in with an ISIS cult. That's about it about her.
She smells like coconut.
Yeah, we'll
And
get
she
into
never
that.
lets you forget that she's a pastry chef.
Yep. So yeah, you get the gluttony and the chef. Ah.
Oh, tension.
Yeah. So the story, Knut and Andrea team up to find Andrea's sister, who is at this ranch in Montana. It's a dude ranch disguised as a cult for ISIS brainwashing, I guess.
Like you do.
Like you do.
Those exist.
I
Yeah.
think it's a cult disguised as a ranch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
He said a ranch
Yes.
disguised as a
Oh,
cult.
yeah, I wrote that
Which would be
backwards.
funny.
My...
But
I feel like that wouldn't work as well.
Only
you know.
one way to find out.
Yeah. Guys, I have a great idea.
I've been saying
Next
this for
page,
years.
Oh. Okay. But I don't know why they even bothered putting this in, because they're there for all of like 10 minutes before it's overrun by these Lucifyers, and then they're transported back into Viking times, so...
I suspect it's for the added ridiculousness of them being like in full out cowboy gear in Viking times.
That's true, they get transported there, and she's wearing like a cowboy hat and boots, and they're all like, your hat is weird, but they just kind of leave it at that.
Oh, and the shirt.
The shirt, oh yeah, she's wearing a shirt that says, save a horse, ride a cowboy.
That they can all read somehow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that they then liken to, what is it, save a longboat, ride a Viking,
Yeah.
or something, which is not nearly as good.
No.
So anyway,
I would write a Viking though.
yeah. Not this one, but maybe another
No,
one.
not this one.
So before Knut died the first time, and was taken away to be a Vangel, which I guess is vampire angel. He was this very cruel Jarl. His land was in the midst of a famine. His people were starving while he hoarded treasure and ate everything. He was super overweight, I guess. And then he disappeared and whatever. So he ends up back there a second time, this time with Andrea. It's been like 4 weeks in time since he first disappeared, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
So his people are all shocked to find him so, like, handsome and muscular so quickly, but they don't really question how that happened, even though he went from, like, 400 pounds to, like, this muscly
They
man.
were like, he must have been captured and starved and tortured, which is why he's now in great shape and has a haircut.
Not emaciated.
And muscles. Like, huge rippling muscles, and is not, like, wasted or anything, just wasted away. But anyway, these Vikings don't really question anything, because, you know, plot. So from this point on, it's Andrea and Knut trying to guide his people through this famine. Andrea's there to help kind of teach a few of the cooks, I guess, how to stretch the food and make different things.
Like
Knut
soup.
goes up. Yeah, like a lot of soup and donuts. She makes sourdough starter and makes donuts, and everyone's like, what are these wonderful things?
Yeah, she introduces, like, all of these foods, like, 1,000 years early, and it's just, like, no consequences.
Yeah. I mean, it's totally fine.
It's fine. It's not gonna change anything.
Yeah. And Knut goes hunting a lot, I guess, and they inexplicably find all these animals, even though it's a famine, and they're like, oh my god, so many boar and so many bears, whatever. So during this time, they obviously realize they have feelings for each other, and they go bang, as you do. That's a romance novel. They have hot Viking sex in the furs. I don't know.
Not the boots with the furs, the
furs.
banging boots.
The banging boots.
Under the food.
I think she
There
has
were
sex
boots.
she has sex in the boots at one
Yeah,
point. In
she
the
does.
Viking
Yeah.
hot tub.
There, we've got boots, we've
She
got
wore
fur.
her boots in a hot tub.
Yeah, she did. She was
They
naked
were
except for the
expensive boots, too.
They're
That's
designer
just
boots.
horribly irresponsible.
Yeah, they were over $200 boots.
They were on
That
sale
is
at
a great
Nordstrom.
way to ruin a pair of shoes.
So anyway, they have sex. It's fine.
Getting to the real problems here.
Yeah.
There was that image, she just, like, takes off her cloak, and she's wearing boots, and she just walks right in, and I'm like, what are you doing? Who does that?
She's like scolding him as she's naked. She's like, how dare you? And he's like, boobs? Boots. I can't concentrate on what you're saying. You know. Anyway, so there's something about them being life mates because they're able to teletransport together, but they just kind of blow past that and don't really care, I guess.
That feels like a common theme.
Yeah. They just kind of ignore it. They're like, whatever, it's fine. It'll be fine. So Knut hints at that having sex will add years onto his sentence that Michael gave him for sinning or whatever. Sinning's a huge theme in this book.
It's kind of a little bit like religious propaganda.
It's really strange. So while Knut's out hunting, one time he runs into Zebulon the Hebrew, known as Zeb. He is a double agent Lucifer who wants to become a Vangel, and he's the first demon to ever want to do so. He says that, I don't remember the guy's name, Jasper, who's like the head demon under Lucifer or something. He's ramping up evil or whatever, and demands that Zeb bring him a Sigurdsson brother to show his loyalty, so Zeb is struggling with turning himself in or turning Knut in.
And naturally, he travels back in time to 850 to find Knut rather than grabbing one of his brothers.
Yep.
Because that makes sense.
That seems easier, I
And
guess.
just happens to also know that that's where he is.
Yes. Yeah.
Makes
Lots
sense.
of plot holes.
Makes
Yes.
sense.
So when Knut gets back, there's a princess there, Princess Raynilda, who we will discuss. She arrives with a bunch of food, which will stave off the famine for his people, so everybody's all excited. Raynilda used to be Knut's fiancée, but she married somebody else, but then he died, so now she's a widow.
He died mysteriously by poison, probably.
Yeah, and he's like, she smells evil. Which evil is lemons.
Yeah. Evil smells like lemons consistently throughout this book.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I can't help but think she got the idea from SpongeBob.
Evil. Every villain is lemons.
Yes.
So
That might be the single greatest thing I've ever heard.
Oh my god! I didn't put that together!
I just now did as I was thinking about it. I'm like, oh! Every villain is lemons! Sandra Hill, you wily minx!
I was today years old when I put that together.
Anyway, I also put she is a widow hunting for another jar instead of Jarl because I spelled it wrong, so it's fine.
It's the wrong drink.
Yeah, so this happens. Andrea gets, like, insta-jealous. Knut is just kind of clueless about the whole thing. Renilda's basically a plot device to make this rift happen, whatever. But she lasts for about 15 pages before her evil scent draws, I think, Zeb, and she dies. So I don't know.
Renilda, she was a bitch and then she died.
Yeah. That's basically all she was there for. So the famine has been averted, whatever. There's a Yule celebration, which they force Christmas into because Christianity. Yay. That happens, and then during that, Knut steps out to do something, and Zeb transports Andrea back home to Philadelphia for safety, while he takes Knut to the Caribbean to hang out for a minute, I guess. So Andrea is certain that Zeb has turned Knut into Satan's forces, so she goes to the Vangel hideout, which is in Transylvania, Pennsylvania? Which I didn't bother looking up if it was a real place or not, I don't know. She goes to ask his brothers for help. No need, though, because Knut shows up on the doorstep. Yay, everybody's happy. Turns out Zeb had a change of heart. He turns himself in for torture. He lets Knut go home. Andrea and Knut get married like 2 weeks later. They think briefly of Zeb and like, oh well, we can't really do anything. And they just kind of go on about their lives.
Yeah, we can't fight him. It's just gone.
Yeah,
Whatever.
we can't do anything. It's whatever. He's a demon. So in the epilogue, Zeb is like in this torture dungeon, and I guess he's also going to be the subject of Sandra Hill's next book in the series because he's sexy, and that's where it ends.
Thank God.
Yeah. Thank
Also,
God.
I just looked it up. There is not a Transylvania, Pennsylvania.
Oh, cool. She made
There is
that
a
up.
Transylvania in Louisiana and
Oh.
a Transylvania County in North Carolina.
Interesting. So Transylvania, Pennsylvania is just this vampire tourist trap of a town.
Yeah.
And they all live in this vampire castle. And they're a bunch of Viking dudes all living together in this vampire castle. Actually, I don't know if they live together. It's just the headquarters. But everyone's just like, yes, this is normal.
Yeah. Also, Lizzie Borden is their cook.
Yes. Oh my god, when I hit that part, I got so excited. I was
I'm like,
like, yes, are you fucking kidding me? This is fantastic.
I'm like, I want her as the
Main character.
Make her
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh. Gotta love Lizzie Borden. I mean, not really. She was horrible, but
Yeah. You know. Just the
them murderers, man.
the
they're my
concept
thing.
is, yeah, Allie's into murderers. In a good way.
I do listen to a whole podcast about it, so, you know. Several, actually. Yeah, that's... Yeah.
You want to advertise another podcast on our podcast?
Sure. No.
Yeah. We can.
Okay, yeah, I guess. If you like
Well,
true crime and just really depressing shit, My Favorite Murder. It's pretty fantastic. There's a bunch of other really good ones too, but yeah, that one's my favorite.
I don't think she got paid to say that, but if she did, she's not giving us any, so.
I did not get paid to say that. I
So
just
we're
genuinely really like the podcast, and it is being a very good part of my life right now, so.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I told her about this podcast.
Did you? Oh, no. Hi, Allie's new friend. What's up? Don't start with episode 1. It's terrible.
That's what I told her.
Oh, good.
Just
That
if you did, go back in time and undo it.
Yeah.
I'm
Teletransport back in time.
Where's my hot Viking man to take me back to... When did we start this? Summer?
No, it's been
June.
over
No.
6 months.
Has it really?
Wait,
This is
Yeah,
book 6.
this is the 5th one, so we've been doing it for 5 months now.
Book 6.
Jesus. This
Book
is the
6.
Wait,
Right.
this is the 6th one? Oh, this is the 6th one. Oops. Last one was the 5th one.
Can you
We've
tell we're
done
super
6.
organized?
We're
About
just so good
stuff.
at this, guys.
We're awesome. We're professionals.
Oh.
So yeah. You want
Where
to jump
do
into
we
it?
start?
Yeah, who wants to start?
I have my little bullet points here, and I always.
I was gonna say, so
start
I
with
read the least.
Yeah, why doesn't
Yeah.
Allie start?
Yeah, go for
Yeah.
it.
So I got to the part where, it's right in the beginning. It's like the first time. It's right after she hires Knut, and he shows up at her apartment to tell her about like the dude ranch. That's as far as I got.
You
so
didn't
I'll
even
just
get
kinda-
sex.
You didn't get to
No,
the
I
Viking
didn't
part
even-
at all.
I
Sex
didn't
was
even get
not
to the sex
until
or
over
to the dude
halfway
ranch.
through.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
You're not missing much.
No.
so yeah, yeah, I'm not super worried about it. So one thing that, like, I understand why she did this in the book, but I found it extremely annoying were the little, like, menu ideas at the beginning of every chapter.
Oh, good God, yeah.
Yes.
I thought they were funny and then they got old.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
it was
the
it was
first
like
two
it
were
was like,
fine.
oh, this is clever. I get it. He's gluttony, like, ha.
Yeah, and
food
she's the
menu.
chef. She makes menus. Haha.
Yeah, and then it's like I got to like the 4th chapter. I'm like, fuck, you're still doing this?
Also, who eats all this food? Like, the midnight snack one was the one
Yeah.
that got me.
Yeah.
A chef's late night snack, and it's all this shit, and I'm like, how do you eat all that stuff?
And
It's a
she's
snack.
skinny.
Yeah.
And it's
Right,
like,
she
but
can
for a
just
midnight
eat.
snack, she eats like 6 pounds of food.
There's like a sentence that cleans all that. It's like, oh, she eats a lot, but she can't gain any weight, so it's fine.
She's got a high metabolism or something.
Which happens.
Yeah, my sister is like that. It's infuriating.
Yeah, okay, so I have a high metabolism too. Like, I can eat an outrageous amount. I still put on weight. Like, it still happens. It just takes a very long time to do it.
Yeah.
Like, if I ate that much food every day, yeah, I would put on a lot of weight. Like, there's no arguing that. I just forget to eat sometimes.
Yeah, I still do that. And we're getting to our 30s.
Oh, don't
almost.
remind
No!
Gina and I are turning 28 in a month?
A month.
About a
Little over
month and a
a month, yeah.
half.
I thought you forgot our birthdays.
I
I'm
did.
like, it's January. It's January.
I'm getting so old I forgot my own birthday. I have had to count backwards to figure out my own age, though, and I'm
Oh,
like,
I've
oh,
done
good,
that.
that's starting already.
Yep,
Yeah, when
I've
you
done
have to
that.
do subtraction to figure out how old you are, it's like, oh, dang.
Uh-oh.
Carry the 1.
Yeah. But anyway.
Okay, so let's see. Let's just start right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right at the beginning, she really puts a lot of emphasis into just how fat this guy is supposed to be.
That's true.
And
Yes.
I felt like there probably would have been a much better way to get that across than doing that, because there's a lot of shaming
Yes.
and fat shaming coming from like his brothers and everyone. And the way she writes it is just like, oh, haha, it's in jest. He doesn't give a shit. And like, he's complaining about it a lot. So yeah, clearly he does.
Yeah.
He's called a brute, which that's just a regular reoccurring theme in these books.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think this is the one that I'm looking for. Let's see. So, the part in the book that I highlighted was just the sentence, one of the good things about Vikings was that they could laugh at themselves. Which, okay, yeah, that's great. But this sentence comes immediately after him mocking one of his brother's wives. Not his brother. He's mocking this guy's wife. saying that she's put on weight, she like farts as she walks, she waddles, and then he goes, now there is something to make mock of.
Huh.
And then they can laugh at themselves. I'm like, no, you're not laughing at yourselves. You're openly mocking his wife, and he's just laughing and going along with it. Like,
Yeah, that sucks.
I mean, it seems like the definition of laughing at yourself is literally laughing at not other people who aren't there.
Yeah.
Which is what they were doing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they were absolutely like just making fun of her while she wasn't there. And
not cool.
Yeah. Like, I don't know a lot about Viking culture. Most of it comes from like, you know, popular culture of today, so I'm not sure if this is 100% accurate, but what I do kind of know is that Viking women were not something you made fun of.
Oh, no.
And a lot of the way that she tries to go about, like, how these Vikings were, I'm just sitting here going, I don't think you, like, put any thought in or research into this. You just kind of decided to be like, oh, this is what I think of them, so this is how it's gonna be. Because she also, when she tried to describe their, like he's the Jarl and their, like, ranking system or whatever, it didn't sound, like, remotely Viking. It sounded more like, oh gosh, I can't think of the term right now. But, like, the Great Britain, like, middle-aged English kind of
like feudal
hierarchy. Yeah, like the feudal hierarchy, not necessarily like the Viking culture. Because I don't think that they really had, like, I'm sure that they had jarls and everything, but I don't think it was like they had, like, subjects under them kind of thing. Like, it was a little bit more equal-ish. Like, they were raiders. I don't think they really had, like, that much of, like, a royalty hierarchy or anything like that.
Yeah, it was really like she was just like, medieval times, what do I know about that?
Yeah.
Here we go. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got.
It did feel like that. She's kind of working off this outdated
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, because she
information.
mentioned something about them collecting taxes. I'm like, I'm pretty sure Vikings did not collect taxes. Maybe they raided and pillaged, but I doubt they collected taxes from their own people.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know enough about Vikings to dispute it, but it sounded...
I don't know either, but
it sounded off.
Yeah, it sounded weird. It didn't sound right. So when they get into Andrea and they're describing her sister, they mention something about, like, she's got a bunch of piercings and tattoos and, like, weird hair, and she dresses like this, and what was she thinking? I'm like, yes, heaven forbid anyone ever express themselves with that.
Yeah.
Heathen!
Who these days doesn't have, like, some sort of piercing or tattoo, or even when this book was written, have some sort of piercing or tattoo?
Or ever dyed their hair a weird color.
Came from the girl who used to have neon green hair. Yeah.
when this is published.
She mentions the year 2016 in the book, so...
Oh,
Yep,
seriously?
copyright 2016.
Yeah,
Recently.
she references... Okay, yeah.
So
Very
it's not that
recently.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the reasoning they have, just real quick, for just, like, why this group is operating out of the Dude Ranch, like, from just where I got, they might explain it later on in the book. It's just Andrea talking to someone, just going, and yeah, before you ask, isn't it strange that a terrorist organization would recruit from a Dude Ranch? Better than the mall, I suppose. Like, that's just it. He's like, yeah, it's weird that they're doing this. All right, later.
And then, it's fine.
There's actually a lot of that where it's like, it just acknowledges, like, yeah, this doesn't make sense. Moving on. I've got a good example of that when it's my turn, but...
In it, there's a line that's, though where anyone got the idea that garlic repelled vampires, Knut had no idea. Google.
You know.
Google knows where it came from.
Uh-huh.
They have a vampire website. I think they understand computers.
What is with these, like,
I know.
paranormal creatures needing websites?
I was thinking the same.
I highlighted their website because, what was it? Where was it?
I don't
like-
think it's going to be a thing like in Night Pleasures. Like, Night Pleasures, that might have actually been a website for fans for a little bit.
Yeah, their email was like whatever at hotvangels.com or something.
Oh.
And I'm like, really? Why? Why did you do that?
It's like they just write about the internet like it's the 90s.
They really...
Mm-hmm.
I don't think
They
she's done
have an
research.
internet website.
I think this lady has written so many books about Vikings that she just researched it once in like 1984 and just never looked it up again. She's like, I got this. I'm gonna keep going.
I am the Viking
What's
expert.
the internet? The kids like it. I don't know. It's fine. .com. I mean, have you seen this lady? Like, this is exactly how
Whoa.
I pictured that she would look while I
Yeah.
was reading this. I'm like, oh, yeah. Slightly older than middle-aged white lady. Yep, cool.
Sounds like a lot of people who come to my work.
How are you doing, fellow kids?
Yeah.
So did anyone, so I know right like in the beginning she mentioned something called Wheels, WALS. It's supposed to be like the female version of the Navy SEALs.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know if that was real or not.
I also don't think that that's a real thing because I'm pretty sure that they would let women into the Navy SEALs.
I think
but
women
it's
can be
not,
Navy
like,
SEALs.
That's gender discrimination, and that's not really a thing in the Army anymore. Hasn't been.
Don't you want to be called a wheel instead of a seal?
No, not at all.
Yeah. A
it was
cursory
painful.
Google search reveals that no. Wheels is not real.
Okay, and then another one that I meant to
Shocker.
that I meant to look up that I didn't yet. If someone could just quick Google this for me, is what does the term, like the actual term tango, mean in the military? Because I'm pretty sure it doesn't mean bad guys. I think
It
it's
means
just
T.
It just means T.
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
letter
it's just
T.
their term for the letter T, but she uses it. She says,
Tango and military code. Yeah, it's a letter, the NATO phonetic alphabet.
yeah. So the way that she uses it in here is, in many ways, the Vangels and Seals were the same. First of all, I doubt that.
Unlikely.
Increasing their ranks in a seemingly endless fight against tangos, or bad guys. I'm like,
Yeah.
It's not exactly according to this. Tango is the phonetic letter for T, and it also stands for target.
okay. So I wonder if she
guess-
just was here, like, she didn't really research it a whole lot, but she knew in, like,
Oh.
the movies and stuff, they always say tango, so it must mean
Yeah,
bad guys. I don't know.
Somebody's saying it might mean terrorist or enemy combatant, but this is one guy on a random website, so, I don't know if it's actually real. She might have
It's
just looked
almost
it up.
as real as this book.
Okay, so my last complaint, and this one made me so angry that I actually ranted about someone earlier, because I read it earlier today. So, it's when Andrea's in her apartment, and she's, like, settling down, gonna watch TV, she's making herself some stuff, and
Yep.
she makes herself a decaffeinated ginger chai, which also is not a thing, because chai cannot be decaffeinated, because it is in itself a black tea. But then she says that she's going to go watch Game of Thrones on Netflix when she saw that she had company. First of all, fuck you.
Netflix.
Game of Thrones is not on Netflix.
It's on HBO!
Which
And
is hilarious
and then on
because they
page
mention it later. Yeah.
yeah,
Everybody
they're like,
knows that.
276 Game of Thrones on HBO.
What?
But page 47,
I love that you tabbed this.
page 57,
I am so
Game of
angry.
Thrones on Netflix.
No,
Wow.
that's not a thing. I'm so
It's
angry
not a
that Game
thing.
of Thrones is not on Netflix because I had to fucking pay for HBO to binge it.
Yeah. I've had to buy every season.
Yeah, we've had to buy it, and Lance literally gets HBO Go for, like, the season, and then he shuts it off.
Yep,
It's so
that's what I
We're not
assume.
using it for anything else.
But yeah, like, I saw that, and I actually, like, I put it down, and I got up and just, like, walked around my room for a little bit. I can't.
I can't.
suspension of disbelief only goes so far.
Yeah.
Yep. And then my friend asked me, so what's your plans for the evening? I was like, getting angry at a book, apparently.
I don't know about you, but that's how I love to spend my evenings.
I was telling someone at work
Raged
about
out.
it, and he just, I broke him. Like, he was just staring into space. I'm just like, yeah, it's this book. It's about these Viking vampire angels, and they're fighting ISIS, and also these vampire demons, and one of them is a Nazi, so I guess Nazis too.
Oh yeah.
And he's just like staring. He's just like they're vampire Viking, and I'm
angels.
like angels.
I would say the one thing that confused me that I'm sure gets explained in an earlier book, so I didn't dwell on it for too long, is like, why the vampires?
What I picked up on was that it was like, because they were all, you know, each one of the brothers had committed like one of the deadly sins.
Mm-hmm.
So they turned them into like these vampire angels, like fearsome creatures to, you know, join the army to atone for their sins. And I think it's just to make them more formidable.
Maybe. I'm sure it's
they're
something,
fighting
like,
demons.
like I said, like I read that and I was like, well, they don't really explain why the vampires are in there. Like, the
No,
angel
they
aspect,
didn't.
sure, Michael comes and converts them, whatever. But they don't really explain the vampire part. And like I started to get like, well, why isn't this being explained? I'm like, well, because this is book 7, and she probably figured you wouldn't just be jumping in where we are.
Yeah. Who would do
Yeah.
that?
It was probably explained earlier.
Yeah. So
Well,
I just kind of like, I was just like, well, why isn't this? Oh, that's probably why. Okay, whatever. Moving on.
At the end, when they're dealing with the obnoxious woman who's only there for 15 pages,
Oh, Brunilda.
Is it literally 15 pages?
I don't know.
It's not a lot.
Okay. I thought you like tabbed in when she like came in and when she died.
I should have went back and counted.
if I had known when I started that I needed to, but Knut offers to, like, suck a little bit of her blood and then give her some of his blood to, like, purify her of her sins. And but growing up Catholic, that's not how that works.
No.
But that's the only, like, real vampire thing that you get other than the sex stuff.
Or he has
Yeah.
fangs.
Oh, there
He
is
has
sex
fangs.
stuff.
Yeah.
No, there's vampire sex stuff.
Can we go to that? Because I tapped
Yeah.
a lot in the middle.
Yeah. I'm. That was everything that I had.
I
so
got some
whoever
highlights
wants to
for
pick
that.
up next,
Oh,
go for
good
it.
lord.
Okay,
This-
I'm just gonna go straight into the sex and comment. A lot of these books seem to have issues with people coming during sex. This one I
Again?
thought was particularly odd because the first time they have sex, he can't come until after he bites her with his vampire fangs. But
Right.
then they're like having sex again that same night, and she like tickles his balls, and that makes him come. It's like, oh yeah, they're kind of the same thing. I could see how those would be equivalent. So that one stuck with me a lot. I enjoyed the first time that they shook hands, how sexual that was.
Why wouldn't it be?
Oh, notable. Like, I think it's part of the soul bond thing or whatever.
The
But-
life mate thing.
Life mate, yeah. Like, she to him smells like coconut, and him to her smells like peppermint.
Oh,
and
good
that's
God.
Just like every other page, that comes up
yes.
Literally every other page. We are not exaggerating.
somehow.
They just
There was
can't
some
drill
mention
it
of
into you enough.
peppermint. Yeah. Some mention of peppermint or coconut. I'm looking at this one page and I see it. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times on one page.
They mentioned that one of them smells like peppermint or coconut.
They're just mentioning,
Yes.
yeah, you smell
He
like
smells like
peppermint.
peppermint, she smells like coconut.
And then she decides she's gonna make him a birthday cake that is coconut peppermint because she thinks it's like the best flavor combination in the world.
That is a
Well, she's like,
disgusting
it's
flavor
so
combination.
weird.
Yeah.
She's like, it's such a weird combination. It's like, I've heard of that before. I think.
I've never. once in my life seeing that.
Is a Yorkshire peppermint?
Yeah, it's like
thing?
a peppermint patty.
Does that have coconut in the middle,
No,
or is it
that
just
doesn't
like
have coconut in it,
minty
no.
fluff?
It's just minty fluff.
Okay.
Okay, then maybe I haven't, because that's what I was thinking of.
No,
Okay.
that's definitely
Anyway.
not coconut. Coconut is just... No,
Hey.
that would be awful with peppermint.
But yeah, they mentioned this cake that she's gonna make at least another 8 times.
Yeah.
So-
Anyway, Lauren, we totally cut you off.
That's okay.
ahead, Lauren.
I was tabbing through my tabs and remembered that he had a switchblade sword.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was a choice weapon
I
for a
remember
Vangel.
that. I remember reading that. Also, so fucking not a thing.
No.
Like,
Oh.
I have at least 5 knives and 2 swords. That's not a thing.
But if it were, he would have one.
Yeah.
It's like she went to House on the Rock and just saw all the weird weapons that are there. It's like, this is great.
Yeah. Writing those down.
So what, there's like a gun that has an axe at the end of it or something? I don't know.
Actually,
There's
that
some
explains a
weird shit
lot.
there.
She just went to
House
House
on
on
the
the Rock and just
Yeah.
wrote down
Yeah.
ideas, underline.
Oh.
Vampires. Ooh,
Yeah.
angels.
There's the carousel
Ooh,
room. There's a shit ton of
switchblade
angels in the carousel room. That's
There
probably
are.
where she got it from.
I feel like you can't use House on the Rock after Neil Gaiman did it in American Gods. Like
Nobody
no one's
could
ever gonna
possibly
do
beat
it.
that man and using
No
House
one's
on the Rock.
no one's gonna beat him. So just don't even try.
Oh, that was an amazing book.
We need to read that. I almost choked on my drink. I need to read that still.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. Okay, we're not going to talk about it because that's an actually
that's an
decent
actual
book.
good
Different
book. Yeah.
day, yeah. When he is about to teletransport her, he says, "Hold tight, baby. I've never done this with a human before."
Oh, she doesn't know that he's a supernatural being yet. At that point.
No, she does, because when the Lucifers start attacking, he gets the fangs and the red eyes.
Okay, but he's never told her.
No,
That's the first
she
time
says,
she finds out about it.
"What are you?" And he says, "A Vangel." And she says, "You, an angel?" And he says, "A Vangel. I don't have time to explain now." And then she says,
Okay.
"Are we dead?" And he says, "I am. You're not. Yet." And then the next page, they teletransport.
Okay, so those are very close together.
Yeah.
It's still new.
Yeah, they teletransport. We didn't mention this. They teletransport first to the Old West for literally like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're like, whoops, we can't be here. And then they go back to the
I
Northlands.
forgot about that.
And I was like,
They're in
wait,
the same
what?
place, but it's like got different wallpaper, and they look out the window, and she's like, "There's horses."
Yeah.
She's like, "Where are we?" And he's just like, "The Old West."
I was like, ooh, is the book going to do this? Because that's cool. And then they were gone. And I was like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, because like someone saw them, they're like, "Who are you?" And they're just like, "Bye."
Yeah, I thought the Wild West and the Montana Dude Ranch would be a bigger thing than they were.
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
wasn't.
Well,
It's
it's like it got to that part, and I was just thinking, like, oh my god, we are specifically like avoiding these cowboy themes, and we get sucked into one anyway. But then that was over.
Don't
So
have to
never
worry
mind.
about that anymore.
Uh-huh.
But
One
that
of
was
my
kind
favorite.
of like a big point on the back of the book was that
Yeah,
it's
most
Wood
of
Ranch.
it was about that. And
Yeah,
then,
Vangel
like,
turns cowboy. Yeehaw.
Yeah.
That's what I thought was interesting.
Yeehaw!
After reading it, like you look at the back, and it's like 90% of the book takes place in the last 2 lines of the synopsis.
Yeah.
Oh god.
And they don't really have to find their way back to the future, because remember when they go back to the Northlands and she's like, take me back, and he's like, I don't know, I can't.
I don't even know how it got here, man.
We're probably gonna have to wait till spring, and she's like, okay, I guess that's alright.
So there's just
So they're
like
not
no
really-
rush to go
There's
save
not
her
really
sister
any
or
rush
anything.
No.
to do
Well,
anything. They're just
he doesn't
like,
have any control over it. Like, he can teletransport, but it seems like he doesn't have any control over where he's going.
it's like Michael's will, because he's testing him or something.
Yeah.
Fuck
Or
that
whatever.
guy.
Yeah.
Lauren, I'm sorry.
You're okay. It's all valid. I just want it to be over. I just really want it to be over. I never want to open this book again.
I'm gonna put it away and never think about it again.
Oh.
One of my favorite sexy type paragraphs was, again, when they were just, like, near each other. The room smelled of sweet coconut, and he was hit with yet another temptation, more powerful than that for food or drink. Between his legs, his balls shifted, and his staff seemed to yawn and stretch and come to life. Here's the good part. If
That
Cox
wasn't-
could smile, his was doing a happy dance of anticipation.
I have this exact same thing highlighted. Oh my god. I actually asked poor Lance. I'm like, hey, do penises actually do this? And he's like, I don't even know what it's saying, so I'm gonna say no.
Do they yawn?
Do they do a happy dance of anticipation? And he was like, no.
What would that even mean?
What does
hon?
that mean?
This was clearly
Unrelated
written by an
note.
old white woman.
Yeah, it really was. Has she ever seen a penis? Has
A
she touched
staff.
a penis?
She might not have.
I don't think she has. I don't think
Okay.
any man will come near her for these reasons.
So I have a related quote.
Oh dear.
Somewhat.
Okay. That last
Allie,
one
one
killed
thing
me.
you have to understand, being the person who hasn't experienced this, the sex scenes are just like the worst thing I've ever read in my life. Okay. They like there were times where I was like cringing, like not just because it was badly written, but because it's just like upsetting, and it was supposed to be sexy, but it was just horrible. Anyway, she crawled over him, knelt between his legs, and showed him what she could do with a peppermint stick,
Oh, yeah.
which is a penis.
Uh-huh.
His
'Cause-
penis.
Oh.
He smells like
Because he
peppermints.
smells like peppermint.
Okay. I don't. So my mind immediately jumped to like, what? Like, he shoved one up his
Put
ass.
it
or
up the
something?
butt!
It's kind of like that song, you know, let's have some fun, this beat is sick, I want to show you what I can do with the peppermint stick.
Okay. Lady Gaga, I like it.
Yeah. A minty surprise.
We've got breasts being described as
Peach-like or something?
Oh, is
No,
this the kittens
no,
thing?
this is after
What?
Oh,
yes,
God.
this is the kittens one.
What?
It's the
Okay.
kittens one. Okay.
Yeah, I have this one highlighted too.
Yeah. She tried to shove his hands away, but they just landed on other forbidden spots. Her breasts. And traitorous critters they were. They rose up and purled like needy kittens up for a petting.
Boobs can't do
Just
that.
don't
Boobs
loop it
don't
around.
do that.
Traitorous critters.
Meow.
They don't move on their own.
They don't. Yeah. Boys listening who have never seen boobs in real life,
They don't do that.
they don't do that. I'm sorry. They don't really. They're not a penis. They don't change shape. They don't move on their own. They don't, like, come to life. Unless it's really cold. And then that's different.
Unless she's like trying, like if she was like specifically mentioning like the nipples, like yeah, okay, maybe.
They
but,
get
like,
pointy. That's it.
The boobs in general, no, does not.
Uh-uh.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was just bad. Anyway, I'm always gonna call my boobs traitorous critters from now on.
You traitorous critters. How dare you?
Oh,
Oh, good lord.
It's bad.
Yeah, it's really bad.
you've noticed I've refilled my drink now.
I feel like I need another.
This is how much of the bottle I'm through, people.
Oh jeez.
Oh, good lord. I think I have-
I'm out of both. You know what? I'm gonna text him.
You've gone through both beers already.
Yes, I have.
Oh boy, yeah, this
Oh.
is something. Oh yeah, I just saw this just passing through. Back to the website thing. Apparently Lucifer also has email, which is
Yes.
lucifer@hades.com
Oh my god, the
for those
freaking
curious.
cartoon villain castle.
Oh yeah, horror
Yeah.
was it called?
Yes, that was the official name.
There was like half a chapter that took place in this castle, and it was just like literally just
Typical Halloween
yeah.
horror.
Halloween is exactly how
like
to
haunted
describe
house
it. Like,
kind of thing. Yeah.
just... Lauren,
I
did
don't
you
know.
have anything else? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Everything you're saying is right. I just it's painful. That's why I'm wincing. I like there's a lot of different talk of sex. One of the guys says, "I give a good ride, m'lady, all the wenches say so." Because she has a Ride a Cowboy t-shirt on. Someone
That's
says,
a
"My
great-
long boat goes in and out for a smooth ride in the waves. Wouldst care to try my saddle? Forget the smooth ride. My long boat can take rough waves. Up, down, up, down."
Yeah.
I'm
She
sorry.
need
but that
one
doesn't
man
really
in the
sound all that
longboat.
rough.
Yeah.
Eesh.
And how did they read that? Because it's written in English. How many of Knut's servants are gonna be literate?
I think they like asked her what those markings on her shirt were, and she told them. Like, I don't think they could read it. But the bigger problem.
Yeah, this is also a
So they show up, and she's talking to all these Vikings in frickin' the year 850, and she asks the reasonable question, how can I understand these people? And he says, well, the language they speak is really close to Old English, but you wouldn't be able to understand that, probably. End of explanation.
Yeah.
And
I remember reading that and just kind of yeah.
there
It
was
is sufficient.
It's like, I guess so, and then just moving on.
There's an author's note at the end that I want to point out.
I didn't bother reading that because I thought it was probably bullshit.
As a side note, the Angel Wore Fangs is the first of my Deadly Angels books that turned into a time travel, which prompts the question, how could a modern person understand the language spoken more than 1,000 years ago? We all know from Canterbury Tales and such literature that medieval English is almost incomprehensible to the contemporary reader. Add to that the fact that Andrea, in my story, would be in a country that spoke Old Norse, not to be confused with modern Norwegian. In fact, the closest we have today to Old Norse is Icelandic. Well, here's one explanation. Old Norse and Saxon English were similar. They shared many of the same words. Thus, they were able to communicate with each other, at least on a basic level. Saxon
That explains
English
why they
is...
had full conversations.
Yeah.
But it's just, they shared some of the same words. Thus, they were able to communicate. For example, these are some of the words that could be equally understood. Anger, anger, cake, caca, club, clubba, fog, fuck. Give, geffa, and outlaw, utlag. In fact, many of the concept and terms of today's English and American legal systems came from the Vikings.
That's a worse explanation.
It's like, here's the explanation. It just happened.
Yeah. Don't think about it too much.
Saxon English is nothing like modern English.
know.
It is literally like listening to German now and being like, that sounds like one of my words. I can get the basic idea of what they're saying. But in this book, they're having complex conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And
her explanation is saying that yes, they would have understand basic words and everything.
yeah.
And that to a point is true. Yes, languages share common words, but it's things like in French, gâteau means cake, but in Spanish it's cat.
Yeah.
So if I were to say in French, je mange le gâteau, I'm saying I ate the cake. To someone in Spanish, they could just be like, why the fuck are you eating a cat?
Well, I took a class on medieval literature, and it took months to even learn how to read it, and then we were reading in medieval literature, Old English, but it's still just you get basic ideas. I could never have complex conversations at all about anything.
Yeah.
It's like if someone was talking, I could understand them. I don't think I could even communicate with them. And like they were just talking like it was English.
Yeah.
I just think it's hilarious that first of all, they tried to address it in the text. And then obviously she realized that failed, so she's like, "Oh, I'll put it in the author's note, a better explanation." And it's just the same thing.
Yeah, it just makes it so much more apparent that she didn't really put any effort into the book.
No.
She hangs lanterns on the things that are inaccurate and then just walks
away from them, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, wait.
I acknowledge this is wrong, but just go with it.
Moving on.
Like, the language thing, because magic would have been a better explanation.
Yes.
Like, it's like, I put a Viking spell on you, and now you can understand. And,
so many,
I would have accepted
TV
that.
shows, so many TV shows and everything use that.
Yeah.
You just, perfect example is Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
They're just like,
And
okay,
Star
well, I've
Trek.
traveled back in time to this, a different time period in a different country or a different planet where they don't even kind of speak English. How can I understand them? And just like, oh, well, the TARDIS is just, telepathically translating it in your mind. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. For that TV show, that makes sense.
Yeah.
This does
let's
not make
be
sense.
honest, though. So this book has a lot of biblical references, and it's not like there was ever, a prominent story in the Bible where everyone who spoke different languages could just randomly understand each other, okay?
Right. I mean, if that existed, it would be great, but there wasn't, so...
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna keep
Disastrous.
going until this is done.
Okay. Power through it, Lauren. I'm gonna text Lance for another beverage.
Yeah, Tim didn't get mine. I might have to just mute and scream. We might have to...
Alcohol!
Okay, I'll edit it in post.
Just
Their
do it in
hands...
post.
Their hands seem to be incredibly, intensely aware of each other. One time he strokes her hand with his thumb, and like ripples, the tingles started where their skin touched and went out in long, slow waves to other parts of her body. Her breasts seemed to swell and the nipples engorged. Between her legs there was a rhythmic pulse. No.
Okay, so that went from kind of I totally get that. If you have a connection with someone and they're holding your hands and they start stroking your hands, you get jittery and kind of butterfly, but not to that extent.
Yeah.
Right. I got it up until the boobs and the pulse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's gonna be butterflies and everything, but them just stroking your hand I don't think would really cause quite that reaction.
Now for one of my favorite inaccuracies. I'm pretty sure, unless I strongly misunderstand the female body, that she has confused clits and cervixes with one another.
Oh boy.
She does not understand anatomy.
No.
She's just her muscles move to fit him, and it's
Huh?
What does
Yeah.
that mean?
Her clitoris felt wide open and vulnerable when he drew back and thrust in again, hitting her in precisely the right spot. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but as the owner of a clitoris, I don't think that mine can fall wide open to accommodate a penis.
No.
No, it cannot.
There's
Because
also
it's
something
not
about
in my vagina.
There's also something about her uterus moving out of the way.
Yeah. Yeah, her womb shifted up to make room for his massive peppermint stick.
We've just got some old-timey medical knowledge here with the wandering womb. It's just
Her inner muscles
scooting
that moved
around
and shifted to
all by
accommodate his
itself.
size. That's inner muscles.
Yeah, I mean, cervixes or whatever, they will drop and lower and move up depending on where you are in your cycle, but they don't move during sexy times. As far as I'm
Get
aware.
out the way,
No.
bitch!
Get out the way.
So that was horribly inaccurate.
Uh-huh.
Then
So, okay, so this kind
she
of
also
also
tells him to laugh so that his penis moves inside of her.
Yeah, I highlighted that.
I just couldn't with that one.
There's no. The exact quote is better. Did you highlight the exact thing?
I have it here.
Yeah. Read the whole thing.
Well, first they're talking about Sex in the City and golden showers, which is when Carrie's partner wanted her to pee on him during sex. His eyes went wide and he burst out laughing. Do that again. Do what again? Laugh so your penis moves inside me. Ah, Andrea, you are a delight. She smiled. I don't think I've ever delighted anyone before.
Do that again. Laugh so your penis moves inside me. What is this world?
This is really, really...
Oh my god.
It's that painful.
Yeah.
Hang on, I have
I just real quick want to backtrack for a second back to the whole clit thing.
Yes.
Confusing it like that, not only is it bad that you just generally don't know female anatomy, she is a goddamn woman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Does she not know her own anatomy?
No. Apparently not. And to be fair, sex ed is terrible in this country, but
yes,
I feel like a cursory search of the internet could help with a lot of these. That's where I learned most of these things.
It would have, and also gee, have you never masturbated before?
Yeah.
Well, you don't know what things are called just because you touch them.
She goes into the frickin' medieval Norselands and starts teaching them in detail about the rhythm method.
Yay! That was one of my next things.
Oh, yeah!
I'm sorry. What?
I'll let Gina take this one.
No, I don't have it highlighted.
Oh.
So if you've got the bookmark.
Well, I had one other one before that one. And then the birth control is my last one. So, after they've had an all-night sex marathon, they're both smiling like a bunch of buffoons. And so all the guys are giving Knut a bunch of shit about having sex. And they say, how many times did you peek? Was she an enthusiastic bed partner? Sometimes my wife lies there like a lump of whale blubber.
Oh, sometimes I hate men.
And then the cherry on top of this section is, did you make her fart? Did she make you fart? And there's this whole conversation the men have
multiple times
about trying to get a woman to fart during sex, and that means she's liking it?
Letting completely loose.
That's weird
It's not
to me.
queefing.
That's what I was going to ask. Are they talking about queefing?
Nope, they say farts.
Actual farting.
Butt farts. With your butt.
Butt farts. As opposed to the lady farts.
There was a time they called it Girl Central.
Yeah, I had that highlighted.
Yes.
It's like she was feeling it, especially in Girl Central or something, and I'm like, why? You don't have to describe it like that.
Why?
That's
was
almost
one
worse
part-
than the dark triangle.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember the dark triangle.
Here, it was cold, the small hearth fire having burned out, but that wasn't what caused her goosebumps. It was the Tingle Master himself.
What?
Oh,
yeah, because he gives her the tinglies.
with his pepperminty
With
goodness.
his pepperminty aura.
Peppermint dick.
Peppermint dick. I want to take a ride on your peppermint dick. That's basically the theme of this book.
Rachel, you should write jingles.
I should. Oh, and it's just in time for Christmas.
Yay!
Jingle all the
Yay.
way.
Oh, so it's
Jingle all
thematic.
the
Oh,
way.
speaking of Christmas songs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There's... Wait, are there goddamn Christmas songs in this book?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, yes.
Jesus Christ, it is thematic.
Yes, Jesus Christ.
She teaches all the kids how to sing like Jingle Bells, and Santa's watching you.
She tells them about Santa.
Yeah, she teaches all the Viking kids about Santa and teaches them a bunch of Christmas songs. And she, like, sets up a Christmas tree. And they're just like, what is this bullshit? And she's just like, a Christmas tree!
No, because there is a part where she's like, man, it's weird that a lot of the Christmas rituals we do, they were doing for Yule. What's that all about?
Yeah, huh? What is that about?
And
Gee,
we're just like
I
cringing.
wonder.
I'm just internally cringing at all of this.
Oh, okay, I'm kind of glad I didn't read that, because I might have, like, just thrown my Kindle across the room.
There's weird Christian propaganda in the latter parts of it.
The
like,
latter
really
parts?
weird.
Are you kidding me? I got that in, like, the first chapter.
It's really, it gets
Tomorrow
worse.
is
It gets way
Saturday.
worse.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so as the pagan, it was a really good idea. I didn't read this.
Yeah.
No. Well, it's like every time the Vikings talk about, like, the gods, he gets all like, and then he doesn't say anything.
The one
Well, because
god.
it would be a sin for him to acknowledge other gods.
Yeah.
And every time he sins, he gets time added onto his sentence, which just means he lives longer.
He
Yeah,
must be Catholic. That sounds
Sounds
like
very
a Catholic
Catholic.
thing.
Catholic.
I'm gonna sin all over the goddamn place.
Yeah.
So moving back to the bad sex writing.
That
I
wasn't
have
all
one
of it?
those highlighted. Yeah, no, there's more. I have another
No,
one highlighted.
here's... Okay, I've got two. So the second one is the worst. But the first one is, she's having an orgasm here. A shattering mass of nerve endings exploded between her legs, causing a reverberation of spasms to pass to other parts of her body.
Just the whole
Hot.
body shiver.
It sounds painful.
A shattering mass of nerve endings exploded. I don't want those words together.
It's just like, my vagina! Like,
It's just taking off into space.
Girl Central!
in 3, 2, 1.
Lift off.
Lift
It's
off.
like
Okay.
her coconut exploded.
Yeah. It's fueled by
Exploded
girl
coconut.
farts. That'd be the worst kind of rocket ship.
Hang on, I'm gonna write this down first.
That'd be the worst kind of rocket ship.
Okay, so the other one, sweat beaded his forehead and muscles strained in his arms as he began a rhythmic thrust, retreat, in and out of her body, accompanied by a wet sucking sound down there that would have embarrassed her if she had the sanity to understand what was happening.
Do you not?
Has she never had sex before?
You know you're supposed to be lubricated when that
That's a
happens.
Well, yeah,
Right
that's a
thing.
wet
Good
sucking
thing.
sound.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Has this never happened to her? I'm concerned.
She's just never been turned on in her entire life.
Yeah, some dude's just like sandpaper pounding into her. And
Oh.
she's like, this feels fine.
Her
I
clit
was
normally
actually a little
doesn't
bit in
open
physical
that
pain
much.
right there.
Yeah, sorry, I made myself with that one too.
Every
bad.
woman ever just goes, oh.
Gina,
But
did
apparently
you get
this is... Anyway, go ahead, yeah.
the bit about the scream? When they
Oh, yeah.
and then
First
she
time
was
she orgasmed with him or something, she like fucking murder screamed.
and then she looked at him and was worried he was gonna laugh at her. Like, what man in their right mind is like having sex and is like, ha ha, made you do it? Why was she afraid of him laughing at her?
I don't
Like
know.
after this intimate moment together that was poorly written, but
Still.
With the
intimate
squelching.
nonetheless.
So she was, I missed a little bit of it there because my headphones fell out, but she was worried about him laughing at her because he made her scream when she came.
Yes.
Yep.
From what I understand, there's not a single person on Earth that doesn't find that incredibly sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
that's a job well done.
Yeah, you're like, all right.
No, you're confusing screams with farting again.
My mistake.
Can you just imagine if you screamed and farts came out?
Oh, no.
Like, what a world that would be.
Oh, what if you farted and screams came out?
That was my next point.
Our video right now is just the tops of everyone's heads, just so you know.
Oh my god.
There's a lot of face palming.
congratulations, you're now listening to a podcast hosted by ghosts. So we all died. Oh.
There's literal tears coming out of my eyes.
Not the metaphorical literal.
No.
The literal.
Literal, like they're dripping.
As
Much like her
just-
vagina was.
Thank you for bringing it around.
So as god awful as this book was, at least it's fucking entertaining.
It really, there were some, now that I'm talking about it with you guys, it's much more bearable, but reading it on your own is like the worst sort of experience.
Well, it's like, this is what I was looking forward to, because it's like, I just have to get through this so I can talk about it, because it's just going to be worth it.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I could have absolutely, like, admittedly, I started it on, I think, Monday. So I absolutely should have been able to get through this. But in my defense, this entire past week, I've been horribly distracted.
Fair.
Yes, very fair.
And it was just so awful that I was just like, you know what? Talking to this person is so much more pleasant than trying to read this book. I'm just going to ignore the book.
Are you using our podcast to flirt, Allie? You just using our podcast?
Oh no, you got me.
She's been had.
Oh.
We see right through you in your maniacal, flirty ways. Good job.
I said, I know what I'm about.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking about starting screaming again.
No, we can't think about it.
We can, Gina, I can distract you. Are you ready? This is when Andrea decides to teach the women about natural family planning.
Oh, right, we were gonna, this was a point.
Oh
We
shit,
made 10
are we
minutes
about to get
ago
into
and
like
forgot
Planned
about it.
Parenthood
Yeah, this
here?
was... If you were not convinced that this was straight up Christian propaganda before, you will be now.
Yeah.
Lovely.
She
Fantastic.
teaches the women to abstain from sex on days that they're ovulating. These women don't know what ovulating is. And she pretty much has to explain it like 8 times. And then they talk about how if you're married, it doesn't really do anything for you anyway, because if you're married, a man can just have sex with you when he wants. That's the rule. The end.
And then she's just like, I'm just
done.
not even gonna get into that.
Yeah, she's like, I'm not gonna touch it. I'm gonna bring them Christmas, but I'm not gonna touch this issue.
marital rape.
Yeah.
Let's
Like,
just
that's
not
not
worry
important.
about that
That's
for
not
now.
important, but I want to make a Christmas tree and teach the kids Jingle Bells.
The most Christian of Christmas songs.
Ooh, yes. But yeah, I didn't think rhythm method was actually a thing. Because what did she say? Like 4 days before you ovulate while you're ovulating, and then 2
And
days
2 days after.
I don't know when I'm ovulating, honestly. I don't.
That's why I have a period tracker on my phone.
Yeah,
I
there's ways
do,
to
but-
keep track.
Not that it matters, but
You need like a basal
No.
thermometer in order to accurately track your ovulation.
Then you stick it up your vagina?
I think
happens?
the other hole, if I'm...
Ah!
I'm not 100% sure. I've never done this, but people who are trying to conceive.
I think it's just
No.
It's not?
No.
I know there's things about mucus and your body temperature.
Let's ask the internet how you take a basal temperature, but I think it involves a butt.
But oh. Yeah, honestly, my period is so weird and random because I have the arm implant and it hasn't been great this time.
Mine
it just
too.
kind of happens when it feels like, so I literally never know when things are happening.
That's kind of why I started using this period tracker, is because mine was so random.
Yeah,
and now
use
the
one
tracker
too,
has finally like caught up and be like, okay, I get the randomness here, and it's actually it has helped a lot. Except I think in the spring I'm due to get mine changed. I'm just getting it taken out. I'm not getting.
Yeah, I'm just getting mine taken out.
I'm gonna get mine taken out when I do too. The first time was okay. The second time has been awful, and I don't know why the second time.
I had one that lasted 6 weeks.
Yep.
And like I started tracking it like a week into it because I'm like, it's happening again. This is ridiculous. And it went for 6 weeks, and I'm like, I have this. So next time I go to the doctor, they can't just blow me off like they always do.
Mm-hmm. That's why I like going to, like, I went to Planned Parenthood to get mine put in. I'm going to go there again to get it taken out. Because if I just go in and say, like, no, I just want this taken out, I would just want to go on the pills, and this is why, they're not going to try to, like, fight and argue with me about it. Just like, oh, no, it's just in your head. Because I have seriously had it, like, this is just the first time I've had the implant. And, like, it's nice not having to really, like, worry about taking a pill or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes my mood swings absolutely insane. Like I have always kind of gotten a little bit like angrier around my period, but now it's like I'm just angry all the time when I'm on my period. And the periods are just so random. Like I had one that lasted like 3 weeks. I had one that came the beginning of the month, skipped a week, started again the next week. And then there was just nothing the month after that.
Yeah, that's what mine do too. I'm just going to get mine taken out. And I've been on birth control for 10 years. And I think I'm just going to stop for a little while. Because it's like, I don't know. No. No, Lauren.
If you track your ovulation and like use condoms, you'll probably be okay.
It is orally or vaginally. It's not in your butt.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Lauren. For a minute,
see how easy it is to check facts on the internet in 2016, 2018.
Sandra
it's
Hill.
So easy. But no, I still really like my implant. Like, I must be the oddity, but I don't get a period, and I don't even notice it, and it's amazing for me, so I'm sorry.
You're the 25%
it doesn't work for everyone.
From what I understand, for some people it works great. Like, it's entirely just your hormones.
It is. Yeah. It really is. But I just don't want anyone to think, like,
it's not,
if they're listening to it, that it sucks for everyone. Like, if you're one of, like, 4 or 5 or however many people, it's awesome.
And honestly, that is kind of like
1 in 4.
What I heard.
Yeah.
Check it out.
that is honestly what I've heard. Like, there's the 4 of us, 3 of us are, like, kind of having terrible times with it. You're having a fantastic time. And that's what I've heard with a lot of it, too. It's usually about 1 in, like, 25%, 1 in 4. I don't really know. Statistics are not my thing.
6 of one, half a dozen of another.
Yep. It's it's based on your hormones. If you can't really handle, like, hormone birth control, maybe don't get this.
Yeah. I had this jerk man doctor who was like, so he put it in, and he's just like, so, most women get it taken out because they can't handle the period irregularity.
Bitch, I will fight you.
I know. Yeah. And so, like, a year into it, I'm like, this is the worst. And I'm like, no, I will win. I am stubborn.
I am stronger than the man doctor.
He's never going to know that. But I will. And I'm a freaking stubborn asshole sometimes. Even when it doesn't benefit anyone.
Even when it hurts you.
Yeah. Again, that's why I really like Planned Parenthood.
Yes. Donate to Planned Parenthood.
They're
Well,
They're
it's
not
like my
paying
normal
us.
doctor is really great, but like she's an OBGYN and it's like she's like 5 months out for appointments, and then when you make one, like at least one of the 3 appointments I've ever had with her got canceled because she had to go deliver a baby. And then tried to reschedule, and they're like, oh, she's going on maternity leave, and she's booked until then, so sorry. But she's great. I just can never get an appointment with her.
Oh.
Yeah, mine is also an OBGYN, and I love her, but yes, I have to make my appointments a year in advance, and I have to pray to God that I'm not on my period when that week comes
Yeah.
around, otherwise I have to reschedule, and it sucks. But yeah.
Okay, we got way off topic.
Yeah.
Anyway, whoever was wondering about implant birth control, there you go. Might work for you, but definitely
do
do your
think-
research.
I think I've heard that the family planning method is especially good for, like, when you're trying to have a baby.
Yes.
I don't know how good it is at not having a baby.
I've heard of quite a few women that just have had really bad luck with birth control, like just haven't found one that works for them, that they just monitor their ovulations. Like they don't necessarily want kids, but they monitor it as a way to know, like, okay, this is a time where I really shouldn't be, like,
Yeah, if you use that combined with something else, I think it's
yeah.
pretty close to 100% effective.
76
Not by itself.
to 88%.
No, not by itself, but if you
Yeah.
use that like with condoms.
Yeah.
Especially if you use condoms with spermicide,
Yeah.
then they're even more effective. Because condoms are not 99% effective like high school tells
They're
you.
only like 94 or something.
Yeah, 94, 95.
Get the spermicide, peeps.
I don't know. It's actually printed on the condom package, I believe. Like,
Yeah.
they have to, legally.
That was in Friends.
Yes. That's
Oh,
how I
yeah.
learned that.
That was a major plot point in Friends. Okay. Lauren, did you hit all your points?
Thank God I threw the book across the room.
Yay!
I'm gonna burn it and or return it to the library. In
Maybe
no
return
particular
it.
order. It's done. And this was the book that is, if in case anyone's like, man, that sounds neat. Vampire, Viking, angels, fighting ISIS in Viking time. I should read this. The best way to read this book is to just skim it.
Mhm.
Don't actually try and read every sentence because I think it took me a half an hour to get through the first 5 pages. And that included a page of the chapter recipe guide thing. So, not worth it.
No.
Well, I thought, like, reading the back, just reading, like, the back synopsis, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be, like, some awesome, witty satire on how ridiculous these paranormal romance novels get. And then you start reading, it's like, she is dead serious.
This is worse.
This is
Yeah.
not satire.
Yeah, it took itself very seriously, and it should not have.
And I was like, I don't know, I was concerned about doing this episode because I thought it would be difficult if it's like, well, the book's not even taking itself seriously, so how can we make fun of it? But turns out...
Turns out it's just fine. You know.
Pretty easy.
Turns out some editor read it and figured that was the only way they could sell books, and they were right. Probably.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, what else did people have? I talked a long time.
Oh, that's okay.
We were all kind of jumping in with stuff, so.
Yeah, everything kind of rides off of whatever else we say. But did anybody else notice and therefore was annoyed by all of the random thoughts in parentheses
Yes!
this woman had?
Yes!
The author?
Like, when,
Like,
in the beginning, when
way
she's,
too
like,
many.
talking to, like, her parents or whatever, it's like every other sentence, or her thoughts in parentheses. Like, this is entirely unnecessary.
Yeah. It's like horrible. Horrible writing. There were bullet point lists at one point
Yeah.
in this. 2 of them.
There's...
Yeah.
This
Ugh.
author does not, like, give the readers any credit at all.
Yeah, no.
Like,
Just spell everything out.
like Here's my favorite example.
I would
She
hate
says
to know what
fighting
one of
them.
the first books was like.
She says fighting them reminds me of that modern carnival game, Whack-A-Mole. Ever heard of it? No. It pretty much amounts to trying to hit moles with a hammer as they randomly pop in and out of holes. Almost impossible to win. It also refers to the repetitious and futile efforts to combat something.
Yeah, she literally spells out her metaphors. Like, God, if she had been a book that we read in English class in high school, like, you would never have to research anything. She explains everything. She has these huge, like, inner monologues with the characters thinking about the stuff that characters wouldn't think about.
Yeah, I have a.
God,
I
okay,
have a
it's
passage.
official. That just made me have to take my glasses off.
Yeah, no, I'm done. No, don't want to see it anymore. I have this paragraph highlighted because it is a good example of these italic thoughts and also terrible sex. So, you know.
2 for 1.
2 for 1. So let's see. She could tell her question disconcerted him, especially since he was poised over her on braced arms, his thighs spread between her spread thigh. Wait. His thighs spread between her spread thighs. That's a bad sentence. Parentheses. How had that happened? His erection. Parentheses. And woo boy, what an erection!
Is that actually written like that?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes it is. Aimed at her lady parts like a dog on point, and he was huffing away like a locomotive in his attempt to slow down the runaway train of his arousal. See? Woo boy, what an erection! Right there.
Oh boy! Boy,
Holy
howdy!
sex on a stick, right?
Yeah, yeah.
A peppermint
She's-
stick.
Yeah, she said that at one point. Holy
Yeah,
sex
it's
on a
at-
stick.
It's when she
Like
first meets
twice.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Oh,
lady
that's right. I remember that
cannot.
one.
This lady cannot do dialogue for shit. It is the
No.
worst dialogue I have ever read in my entire life.
And sex scenes.
And sex scenes. Everything's bad. Writing bad. Dialogue bad. Sex bad.
You
Alright,
get
I'm
no
just gonna go
points, and may
turtle
God
and
have
hide
mercy
from
on
you.
your soul.
She also uses the word ironical. Is that a word?
Ironical?
No.
I don't think so. Okay, hold on. We're
Isn't
looking
it
this up.
ironical?
Yeah. She's
Don't you
like,
think?
She's talking about, like, oh, this got me too. He's talking about Andrea when he first sees her. And because she's super skinny,
Okay.
you know, whatever. He's like, where? Let's see. He could tell, even with the chef jacket hiding her assets, that Andrea Stewart was one of those skinny women with no breasts to speak of. Probably anorexic. I was like,
Yeah, what the fuck?
ah!
Yes! I remember reading that.
No!
I was like, excuse me, as someone who is kind of thin with
Yeah.
like 0 boobs here, excuse you? I am a
Yeah.
healthy weight, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, so that was gross, and then it's
Yeah.
like, which
Seriously,
made it doubly
like-
odd that he would be attracted to her, and he was, blah, blah, blah. That would really be ironical, and I was like, you could just say ironic.
So, okay,
But yeah, going back to the anorexic thing, which I completely forgot about until I saw that, so yeah, not
Like-
good.
there's so much just, not even just fat shaming, general body shaming.
Just
in
body
this
shaming
book.
in general.
Okay, and I did look it up. Ironical, to her credit, is a word.
Oh, cool.
However, ironical is a standard word. It is an alternative adjective form of irony, but it means the same thing as ironic. Ironical is the more old-fashioned form of the word, and ironic is the more common form today.
Oh, I wonder if because he's a Viking, he needs to
I
say
don't think
ironical.
it's that old-fashioned. I guess, I don't know.
This
That's
article
the
was
one
published
thing
in
she looked
2012.
up, guys.
Huh.
This article is 4 years older than when the book was written, saying that ironic is the more common term today.
Yeah. I don't know. It just confused me so much. I'm like, why is she using it that way? That you probably shouldn't use a word that's going to confuse a lot of your reader base, but whatever. That's just me.
It's just so bad.
It's a mess. It is a goddamn mess.
If you are the editor who published this book, you should just quit.
This is bad and you should feel bad.
Why would you expose the world to this?
I don't know.
I almost wonder if, like, the first one was good, and then they stopped editing it, and they stopped reading it, and they're like, oh yeah, she's got another one, just print it. Sure, it's fine.
It
Yeah,
would have
just
had
keep
to have
they're
been like
buying
the
them.
first, I want to say probably it had to have been like the first 2 or so. Like they're like, these have been super popular. I'm sure she knows what she's doing.
It's just, yeah, you don't have to edit them anymore. It's fine.
Don't worry about it.
Ugh. Also, these 2 grown-ass women, Andrea and her sister, both refer to their father as Daddy
Oh god, that's so creepy.
all the time.
Oh,
And
that's
then
so creepy.
their stepmother would be like, your daddy has blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, why?
It's not
Why?
uncommon. It makes me very uncomfortable,
It's
but
so
it's not
creepy.
uncommon.
I have like referred.
They're not even in the... Like, I would feel like this is more common maybe in the South.
Yeah.
They're in Pennsylvania, so
Transylvania, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So like
They're in Philadelphia.
as a joke, I have called Paul Daddy before, and as soon as the word left my mouth, I was just like, no,
Mistake.
Oh.
I call Lance Daddy when I'm talking about, like, the cat, like, to the cat. I'm like, aw, Daddy loves you. Like that.
Yeah.
Not like in a, hey, Daddy.
No.
Ah!
Can't do it.
I don't like
Sorry.
it. I don't like it. Nope. Even in jest. Nope. Not happening.
It's too weird. It's too creepy.
Not to kink shame. That's
Not
not,
to-
my
yeah.
kink.
If
Yes.
you're into it, that's
Like-
cool, but
If that is your thing, 100% go for it. You do you. I'm out.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, I would sooner do the throat singing than try and use that word in the bedroom.
Old reference.
old reference.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
way
pretty
back
sure we
there.
explained that in the podcast. I'm pretty sure that came up already. But yeah, that was a long time ago. That was college days.
That was college.
Oh damn.
That was before this book was written.
Ah, yeah,
in the
it was.
wild days of the internet.
Back in the wild days of like 2011.
And yet we had internet and we could look things up on the Google.
Yeah.
Boy,
Oh,
did I
I
use
remember
that a
the
lot in
world
college.
before this book was written.
Yeah, me too. It was a better place.
It was.
It was a simpler time. Oh. Ugh, what year did Gangnam Style happen? I want to go back to that year. That was a good year.
11, 10, spring of 12.
That was definitely while we were still in college.
Yeah, it was. I think we were in the apartment at that point, so...
That would have been
2011, 2012, 2013.
probably 2012. Because I think we moved in there summer of 2011.
Hang on, guys. We got the Google machine.
Hey, we got internet right
Hey,
here.
that thing that we're talking about.
Yeah, we
Yeah. That
keep
the
mocking
Swedish should
people for
use.
not using it.
2012!
Yay!
Yeah!
Yeah, that was a good year. The world was supposedly going to end that year, and I think it kind of did.
Oh yeah,
And
we
we're
had that
just-
end of the world party. It was great.
That was a really good party.
I don't remember
Yeah.
that party. It must have been
And
good.
then I graduated. That was stupid.
Yeah.
Don't
why'd
do
you
that, kids.
Don't
Don't
do that.
graduate.
It's okay, I
Still
haven't
not
yet.
graduate either.
I mean, I have, but not again.
And there goes the bottle.
There it is.
Tim's playing a game and he won't bring me more beer. Now it's too late.
I'm pretty
Dude.
sure Lance is also playing on his laptop in the other room and missed my text.
I sent him
Seriously,
like
just
3
shout.
messages on Steam and he's just like, hang on. And it took like half an hour.
Honey, you don't understand the importance of alcohol.
Did you explain
Make him
to
read
Tim
the
what
book
this
and
book
then he'll
was
know.
like?
I did. I explained to so many people. He read part of it like over my shoulder. I can't remember what part it was, but like he got to this one part and he's just like, I'm done. What is this?
I feel
And
you.
I told him it's bad. I'm like, it's really bad. And he read like 3 pages and then there's just I think it was the part where she had to save a horse, ride a cowboy on her shirt.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he like read that part and he's just like, no. Just
Why does this exist?
Every time I told anybody that we were reading this book, I then would read them the synopsis for it. Just the back cover. It was like dramatic reading style, reading the synopsis.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I told
Oh.
a few friends about it, and I read them the back cover, and then I told them about Game of Thrones being on Netflix, and they were just done. That was all I needed to tell them to convince them it was a bad book. Like,
The anger I feel about that is mildly unreasonable.
it's how I felt about the nail polish. Do you remember me being upset about the nail polish? It's like that.
Oh, also,
just-
I have now seen the nail polish. What is it? You're not a waitress?
I'm not really a waitress.
I'm not really
Red.
waitress. We have it at school. It's not pink.
Yeah. No.
It is a dark.
It's fucking red.
It is a dark burgundy with a little bit of sparkle in it.
Huh.
It is like the token red nail polish.
Mm-hmm. It's gorgeous. Like, I kind of want it, but...
Yeah, it's only like $12 a bottle.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I can
nail
get it for
polish lasts
free.
forever, so
This is not a
you
commercial
can.
for OPI, by the way.
They do make really good nail
I can.
polish.
I have gotten my nails done twice for free. Gel
Ooh.
polish.
Nice.
It's fantastic. It doesn't chip. It scratches, but it doesn't chip.
Sweet.
Is this book over?
Yes.
Did we do it?
I think this book's over.
I
I'm
think,
gonna delete it off all of my everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Everything was terrible.
I would say before we ended this, there was one thing that I wanted to talk about, not in relation to this book. This book is done.
Right.
Like, we can stop talking about it. But in relation to Night Pleasures, the last book, I remember one of the biggest problems we had with that was that, for anyone who hadn't listened to that episode or whatever, the leading lady essentially, like, rapes the leading man and trying to get him over emotional trauma.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And she tries to do it in the form of BDSM. It just comes across... It was fucking rape.
It's horrible.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Like, maybe a couple weeks after we did that episode, I follow a Facebook page on, obviously Facebook, called, I believe it's sexfortherestofus.com. And they post a lot of things about, like, polyamory, BDSM, stuff like that. And they posted this article that I found really interesting that was just healing sexual trauma through BDSM. And the entire article is about how to help someone get, like, who has been through, like, some sort of sexual trauma, abuse, whatever, healthfully using BDSM. Like, that is the entire thing that this dominatrix does. And it was super interesting. She gives an example of a girl who the guy was super interested in it. She was, like, really nervous and kind of scared about it, and that they just slowly work her way through it. Like, the entire thing is done, like, so he was essentially it was supervised to a point. Like, starting out, the dominatrix who teaches people this stuff was there with them. And then as it's going along, she's kind of, like, supervising the guy who was acting as the dom in that role, and the girl was the sub, and she was, like, getting tied up and everything. And she's kind of, like, going through and slowly be like, okay, this entire thing is about her. If she ever at one point feels uncomfortable and says no, that's where it ends. And that is absolutely how it should be. Like, that part of that book would have been so much more satisfying and honestly sexy if it had been her going to his comfort levels and him actually enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, as opposed to the number of times he said no in that scene.
Yeah. And then her just continuing on.
But yeah, it was a super interesting article. I would like to post it to our Facebook page if you guys are cool with that. But I just found it, like,
go for it.
not that long ago, but it was really interesting.
Do it.
Yeah, I'd like to read it.
Yeah, I can send that to you guys too.
Well, I can read it from the Facebook page.
That's true.
All
We
right.
follow us on Facebook, and so should you.
Yeah. Okay, so was there anything else anybody wanted to talk about? Or
I've got the next book once we're
Yes.
ready.
Right.
Yep.
Everyone good?
Yeah, I think we're ready to be done with this one. So
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Put it on the shelf.
So we are trying to find a book that actually looks good for the next one. Since we had 2 in a row, that hurt a lot.
oh
We
god,
are suffering.
it was rough.
And not in a good way. Not in the sexy way.
No.
Just painful.
So for next month, we're going to be reading A Promise of Fire by Amanda Boucher. It's the Kingmaker Chronicles Book 1. The synopsis says, Catalia, Cat, Fisa, lives disguised as a soothsayer in a traveling circus. She is perfectly content avoiding the danger and destiny the gods and her homicidal mother have saddled her with. That is, until Griffin, an ambitious warlord from the magic-deprived south, fixes her with his steely gaze and upsets her illusion of safety forever. Griffin knows Cat is the Kingmaker, the woman who divines the truth through lies. He wants her as a powerful weapon for his newly conquered realm, until he realizes he wants her for much more than her magic. Cat fights him at every turn, but Griffin's fairness, loyalty, and smoldering advances make him increasingly hard to resist and leave her wondering if life really does have to be short and lived alone.
That does actually sound really interesting.
This sounds cool.
I was gonna say, you had me at homicide.
That should be a t-shirt.
You had me at homicide.
Contact your murder podcast, Allie, and be like, hey guys.
I got an idea.
Yeah, it's real good.
That would probably go over really well, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. So, nobody has anything else to add?
No.
You can listen to other episodes of this podcast, as well as rate and subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, and CastBox. Oh, and Spotify. I keep forgetting that we're on Spotify. We also post a video recording of this episode to the YouTube channel. It's Bodice Ripping. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Again, at Bodice Ripping or Bodice Ripping Podcast. We post announcements like the next book we're going to read. If for any reason episodes are going to get delayed. Other news. We still have t-shirts, I believe.
Right.
Yes.
teespring.com/Bodice Ripping Podcast, if you're into it.
All right. So thanks for joining us, and here's to a ripping good time.
Bye.